So let's have a little chat, shall we? Let's have a little occult chat. This is your host, The Occult View. So I want to talk about a few things in this video. I may have to make a second video or a separate video to really talk about what I really want to discuss. Y'all know I love sipping my water. I love sipping my water as I make my video, my cold water. I love sipping it through a straw. It's so refreshing. Anyway, I want to talk about the dynamics of gay male relationships and what works for me as a gay black man. And this is only about gay male relationships. I'm only speaking about that dynamic. I am not speaking about any other dynamic. So if I'm speaking in terms of gay men, not anyone else. So as you all know, I have a partner. I've known him since 2009. We met, and really, truth be told, we met on some sex shit. You know what I mean? We met on some sex shit because he's very large down there. And I'm just being honest. And that's really what I was 29. He was around my age at the time. And that's what it was about. We met on some sex shit, and it was, it went from there. But in 2021, when I was displaced from my home, and I was homeless for a couple of months, he was coming over to the hotel that I was staying at, seeing me during that time. And then when I moved back into my new unit, because I had to move to another unit, um, I moved back into my new unit. Um, he started coming over and spending the night. And, I was like, okay, he never did this before. He said, well, I just want to come over and stay for 3 days. Y'all know how they do. Child, y'all know how men do. I just want to come over and stay for a couple of days. And a couple of days has turned into 4 years. You know, 4 years of ups and downs and twists and turns and arguments and fights, not physical fights per se. One time it did get a little physical. I got physical with him because he was trying to hug me and I wasn't in the mood for that. And I pushed him off of me and I scratched him. You know what I'm saying? But that was only a reflex. That was a reflex. And I was wrong for that. I was wrong for that. But we've had a lot of ups and downs in our, relationship. Early on, we were getting into a lot of arguments, and it was very tumultuous. We still have disagreements, but not like that. Not like we did when we first started living together. You know what I'm saying? I was like, this is not going to work. I tried to put him out many a times. Y'all know that. Y'all know that. You know, and then on top of that, sometimes when you are a spiritualist or an occultist, sometimes you have to do work on your man and on your relationship. Because best believe if you don't do work on it, somebody else may do. Somebody else may do work on it for you, and that won't be in your favor. You feel what I'm saying? So I had to do some things to subdue those restless spirits that were in him because he came with his own, everybody comes with their own baggage. You know what I'm saying? No relationship is perfect. You understand what I'm saying? And I'm especially saying this to gay black men because a lot of times we are treated like we're the lowest on the totem pole. We are not looked at as people who are deserving of love and companionship. I'm not talking about sex. Sex is a whole nother frequency. I'm talking about companionship. Okay. I'm talking about having another human being there with you, knowing that you can depend on that person in some ways. You know what I'm saying? I'm not talking about sex. For me, and I'm only speaking for me as a gay man, for me, sex complicates things. And as I get older, I'll be 45 in August. As I get older, I realize that sex is not that important to me anymore. I could be single for the rest of my life. If my friend wasn't here, no other guy could live with me. I would not be on the hunt looking for another guy to live with me. You feel what I'm saying? And because the formula would not work. See, the formula works between he and myself. Because I had to do some spiritual stuff, I had to do some work, and I also had to do some work on how I had to look at things as well as it pertained to him. Because I've made videos of how he has upset me at times, but we've come to a common ground. And what I did was, and this may seem simple, what I did was I stopped focusing on what he did to upset me, and I started focusing on his good qualities. And what I realized was when I started focusing on his better qualities, I realized that the good qualities outweighed the bad ones. And it was just simply a question of me adjusting my thinking and my reality ultimately. And since I have done that, things have been a lot better between he and myself. He's not here right now. He goes out of town. He does work out of town, some type of car detailing stuff he does where he makes money and, whatever the case may be. He'll be back tomorrow. I made some chicken salad because I do the cooking in the house. I made some chicken salad for dinner today, and I put him on some hoagies. And I said, "Do you want to take your friend some?" Because he one time when he went out of town, excuse me, one time when he went out of town, I made him a couple of chicken salad hoagies, and when he got in the car, he said his friend said, "Oh my God, they smell good," and they wanted some. So every time he goes out of town now, excuse me, what the fuck? Every time he goes out of town now, his friends expect to have those hoagies. But I asked him, did he want me to make some this time? He said, no, don't make them niggas nothing. I want that when I come back. He don't really like me cooking for his friends, child. He only likes me to cook for him. You know what I'm saying? He don't he don't like me cooking for them. There is spell work in cooking as well. But that's a whole nother video. There is spell work in cooking, and there are ways you can, help to bind and heal certain frequencies between you and your man, talking to gay men, through spell work in that kitchen. You feel what I'm saying? But that's a whole nother video, a whole nother frequency, you know. But so he and I have been getting along a lot better, a whole lot better, and I think, and this is only, again, I'm only speaking from my perspective. I think that what makes things work between he and myself, and this is going to sound kind of controversial, so take your earplugs out and get close to the computer microphone or the speakers and listen very carefully. Somebody has to wear the dress in the house. Somebody has to wear the dress, and I don't mean wear a literal dress, but there has to be a masculine and a feminine counterpart in the relationship to create a certain balance. And I think that is what works between me and my partner. I'm not speaking for anybody else's. I mean, people have their own perspective. This is my reality. So don't take it personal. Maybe it may be different in yours, but I'm only speaking how I see things. I think that there has to be an element of masculine and feminine energy, yin and yang, for things to balance themselves out. You feel what I'm saying? What happened was I had to really look at things differently. And it works out because he takes out the trash mostly. He does all of the manly stuff in the house. I do the cooking. He cannot cook. My partner, he cannot cook. He cannot boil water. Okay. I do all of the cooking. I don't even want him in the kitchen unless he's making him a sandwich or he's putting something in the microwave or something like that. I do all of the cooking and I take care of the what people would call the womanly duties. But I'm not a woman. I'm going to say more so of the feminine or what traditionally has been the feminine duties in the house. I do those things. You know what I'm saying? I take care of those things. So symbolically, I wear the dress in the house because I'm the more versatile component. He's more masculine than I am. He's more manly man than I am. He eats more than me. He eats more than I do. He eats more than me. He does. But of course, he gives me the money to purchase the food. He brings food home. But he eats more than I do. And I don't know where he puts it. I really don't. I don't know where he puts it. And I look at him sometimes when he like if I cook a pot of spaghetti, for example, he will go and no, to put the pot of spaghetti to the side. If I make some potato salad or some chicken salad, I'll eat a little scoop and give me some crackers and I'll be done. I'll go back and look in the bowl and I'll see a big old hunk missing and I'll know he's been in it. You know, he eats more than I do. So he's the more masculine figure and the more masculine energy in the house. And I think that because we have that yin and yang between us, I think that is why it works. That is why our partnership and our companionship, I think that works. And I think it's very important for gay men to have that type of balance in their household. If you're living with, if you're living with a partner, somebody has to wear the dress and somebody has to wear the pants. And I think that sometimes, in some cases, in some gay relationships, the reason that they don't work is because it's off balance or it's imbalanced. It could be either too much masculine energy in the house or it can be too much feminine energy in the house. You get what I'm saying? I could not be with another semi feminine guy. That just does not turn me on. It would be an utter disaster. So even in gay male relationships, there is a component of yin and yang and masculine and feminine energy. And I think that is what makes I'm speaking for me, that is what makes my companionship work. And like I said, it's not based upon sex, it's based upon love, respect, and companionship. Let me tell you something, okay? I am 45 years old. I have had all of the sex that I could possibly imagine. I've had a lot of good looking dudes. I've had some pretty big you know what's. You know what I mean? So it's like after you've done all that, in my early 20s and my 30s, I've had so much fun sexually. After all that, the only thing that is left is love and companionship. That's the only thing that's left. And even if this companionship were to end, I would be okay with that because I'm okay being by myself. You know what I'm saying? I'm okay being alone. When he goes out of town, honey, I love my space. I love him and I love him being here, but I don't mind him going out of town. Now, after a couple of days, I may start to miss him a little bit or something like that. But, I don't mind him going out of town. I don't mind him, going out with his friends. I don't mind that. You know, I don't mind that. I had to get adjusted to him, and he had to get adjusted to me, but I don't mind that. If he wants to spend the night out, that is okay with me. You know, he has three children. He has two sons and a daughter. Um, he spends time with his children, and these are his biological children. He spends time with them all the time. He spends time with his daughter. I'm okay with that. I am absolutely okay with that. My mother, she likes him. He does things for my mother. So I'm okay with that. So yeah, I just wanted to say that for us as gay men, I feel like that sometimes, and I'm only speaking from my perspective once again, and I'm trying to use my words carefully because I don't want to patronize people, and I don't want people to feel as though that I'm just, saying that I have a perfect relationship and nobody's, no, I'm not saying that at all. Ain't nothing perfect in this world. But that chicken salad I made, child, that was good today. It was real good. But anyway, I just think that there should be a masculine and feminine component. There's a YouTuber whose name I will not mention. He's a well-known gay YouTuber, and I like him. I like watching his videos, but I can also see what went wrong in his marriage to his husband and why they're not together. I can see that, you know. Some of it was his attitude, this YouTuber, some of it was his attitude. He has a very nasty disposition about life and about people and about the choices that he made and the people that he allowed in his life. See, I don't have a lot of friends. Me and my friend, we don't really mingle with a lot of people. I don't have a whole bunch of gay male friends. I'm a different type of gay. I'm a more conservative, laid back type of gay person. The friends that I did have, my gay friends that I grew up with, they died from AIDS at young ages, unfortunately. And I was never the one on the hunt looking for new friends. My companion, he's my friend. That's my friend. You feel what I'm saying? But this other person that I'm talking about, and I've seen this in other people, the reason it doesn't work is because there has to be a balance within the energies in the relationship. And a lot of gay men, or some gay men rather, they don't have that balance because either there's too much feminine energy or there's too much masculine energy, and there's no balance to feed off of. There's no even exchange. It's almost like you put two magnets together, and if both of them are positive magnets, they will repel. Two negative magnets, they will repel. But you take a positive and a negative, and you put them together, and hey, they come together. Now that's just my perspective and assessment. People can have their own perspective and assessment, but I'm telling you what works for me and my universe and in my reality. And hey, who knows, it may work for you, but like I said, I do all of the feminine stuff, and I don't do that because I think I'm supposed to do it. I do that because it's like second nature to me. It's like natural to me to want to cook, to make food taste good, and stuff like that. Now, for example, um, my friend, he likes roast beef, and he loves the way that I fix roast beef. He loves the way that I fix spaghetti. What else does he like that I fix? He loves the way I make barbecue ribs. We eat pretty good. He loves the way I make crab cakes and stuff like that. And see, another thing too, my friend does not like vegetables. He does not like vegetables, but he will eat mine because I know how to make them taste good. And he's very particular about now that he's with me, because he told me when he lived by himself, he said, I didn't know you could cook like that. He said, the way you cook, I didn't know you could cook like that. He said, When I lived by myself, all I would do is go get me a burger or something like that. And when he lived with me, I said, listen, you don't have to do that. I cook. I said, we got plenty of food. I said, why would I have you here with me? you know, and I got all this food and I have two freezers full of food. Not bragging, but I have two freezers full of food. I have a smaller deep freezer and then I have my regular freezer. Why would I not cook for the both of us and just cook for me and say, oh no, come on now, that doesn't make sense. So, I do all of the feminine duties. I'm sorry, I'm getting kind of distracted now because I have some very fucked up, rude neighbors, like I told you all before. They don't know how to be quiet. They want to stomp and make noise. They are just some horrible people that I'm going to banish them. I'm going to start doing some work. And that's all I'm going to say on that. But, yeah, so that's what works for me. That's what works for me. It may not work for you, but it works for me. Now, I want to talk about Andrew Tate. I don't know why Spirit has been leading me to watch him lately because he's not someone that I enjoy. I don't enjoy him. I don't care for him. But I realized something about him. Andrew Tate is not only is he living in fear, he's living in a lot of regret and he's living in a lot of remorse. And I don't mean remorse as in, having compassion for some of the things he may have done. I don't mean it in that way. I mean remorse in the fact that he didn't get away with what he thought he was going to get away with. Now, I really want to know, who is this man, Andrew Tate, really? You have some reports that say he was born in the UK. I know his brother Tristan was born obviously in the UK because he has an accent. He has that UK accent. But then I see some reports that Andrew Tate was born in Washington, here in DC, at Walter Reed Army Medical Center, which was right across the street from where I used to live. And I used to actually work there at Walter Reed Army Medical Center. Now, of course, I did not work there in 1986 when he was born, but I used to work there. Then there are some reports that say he was raised in Chicago. So when I keep seeing all of these different reports, there's a lie. There's a lie being told somewhere. Who created this orchestrated energy of Andrew Tate? And what's really his game and his agenda? Now, he did an interview recently where he said that all of his money and all of his assets were frozen when they arrested him last year on those trafficking allegations, him and his brother Tristan. And I said to myself, there are a lot of well-known people, celebrities, and so forth, who are getting their assets frozen, who are getting their homes seized and sold, and all of these things. Like Wendy Williams is a prime example of that. And I came to the conclusion that these people never owned any of that property in the first place. It was owned by someone else. And the assets that Andrew Tate is referring to, they were never his to begin with. That's why they want us to believe. They want the public to believe, oh, the bank can just come in and seize your money. No, no, that's BS. They were able to do that to Wendy Williams and Andrew Tate and probably other well-known people as well because the assets weren't theirs in the first place. And these people know that. So the assets that were frozen of Andrew Tate's, they didn't belong to him anyway. I believe he said he had $100 million in the bank. Child, please. That money didn't belong to him anyway. That money belonged to the corporation, to the LLC of America. That is who it belonged to. You know what Andrew Tate's problem is? And you know, in a way, I kind of feel bad for him in a way. Not in the sense of I want to help him. If he wanted my spiritual help, he would have to pay me at least $100,000. That would be his price. Now that wouldn't be anybody else's price, but that would be his price. At least 100,000. You feel what I'm saying? I think that in the case of Andrew Tate, he went through all of those rituals. He was rubbing elbows and hobnobbing with all of the elitists. He saw a lot of different things. He signed the contract. He signed the contracts and said he would do X, Y, and Z. And then he reneged on it because he started seeing that there were things they wanted him to do that obviously he was not willing to do. And I'm not going to speculate what those things was or what they were allegedly. I'm not going to speculate on that, but you use your own imagination if you need to. I don't know what it was. But obviously he got into a debacle with the people that were sponsoring him, meaning his handlers, as they say. He got into something like a lot of these people do. Same thing with Wendy Williams. Do you really think it's a coincidence her family don't know where she's at? Do you really think it's a coincidence that her New York penthouse was sold right from up under her for a lot less than it was worth? Do you really think it's a coincidence that she has a conservative or some type of conservativeship or well, guardianship, whatever, over her money? Because it's not her money. Once you go against these people, the money is no longer yours. They've given it to Sherry Shepherd, and they've given her show to Sherry Shepherd. Because whatever Wendy was not willing to do, Sherry Shepherd was. See, with a cancer, there is only so much you're going to be able to do to get a cancer to do. Because if a cancer don't want to do something, they're going to say, I ain't with that. Because cancers are trendsetters. They are leaders naturally. And they're not going to let you lead them into oblivion. But in Wendy Williams' case, I think it was one of those things where it was too little too late. And then coupled on the fact that they said that she had a very, very bad drug problem while she was filming the Wendy Williams show. Let me say this, and I know I'm going all over the place, but this is what I do. I'm the occult view. Let me say this. Was Wendy really on drugs during her tenure at the Wendy Williams show? I know people are very good at covering up their drug habits and their drug abuse. I know that. I know that there are functioning addicts, but could that have all been an attempt to just shame her and to degrade her and to make her look bad in the public eye? Because they have a very, very, strong tenacity and propensity to do that to Black women especially, and maybe Black people in general, or people in general who don't go with the status quo. And see, Wendy Williams also knew a lot of people's secrets as well, including politicians, high level people that we've never even heard of. She knows a lot of people's secrets because people kept saying that she knew a lot of this information about P. Diddy before we did. So we have to take all of this into account. Was she really on drugs? Was she really on drugs? Or was she just going to one of those ranch rehabilitations that had nothing to do with drug rehabilitation, but more so to do with mental rehabilitation, trying to get her or make or force her to submit to their will. And maybe it didn't work because there was a point where Wendy went to a so-called rehabilitation place to try to get herself together, but ultimately it did not work. Or did they send her to a psychiatric facility, a ranch, and try to enforce what do they call that? Electroshock therapy on her, like they did Carrie, what's her name? Debbie Reynolds' daughter, Carrie Fisher, Billy Lord's mother. Is that what they were doing? I'm just asking questions because a lot of things don't add up. It's the same thing with Andrew Tate. Something is off with him. Was he in one of those places as well? Is that what he's really trying to tell people? Was he really in jail? Or was he in one of those rehabilitation ranches to try to enforce him to get back into acts to get reaccessed to his lifestyle that he'd become accustomed to? Because he said they seized $100 million of his assets. And the only way that they were able to do that is because they were not his from those assets were not his from the get-go. Now, of course, if you're doing anything illegal, the government can seize your assets. I get that. I'm not, I'm not discounting that. We know that and I understand that. Get it, got it, I got it. You know what I'm saying? I got it. I understand it. But at the same time, we have to look at the people that we're dealing with as well. Because all of those charges that they claim that are against Andrew Tate and his brother, how is it that number one, how come Diddy is not in jail, but they put Andrew Tate in jail and his brother? And then on top of that, why are they out of jail now? Because those were some serious charges that they were being accused of, and I believe it was in Romania, of all places. You know what I'm saying? So what was really going on? See, Andrew Tate, what he's and see he's a Sagittarius. However, he's not pulling from Sagittarius. He's pulling from his shadow self, the Gemini. And I think that might be my appeal toward. I think that's what seduces me about him, in a sense, and why I'm drawn to him. Because Geminis, when they are under attack, they will expose everything. And that's what Andrew Tate is doing. You know, he started out as a Christian. He left Christianity, and now he's a Muslim, evidently. And I saw a clip of an interview that he did with Candace Owens, where he was saying that here in America they have Satanists walking the streets. No, 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 Andrew. No, no, no. Those are not Satanists. Those are your Christians. Those are your Christians practicing the more darker side of Christianity. But he wants to blame it on Satan and Satanists when he really doesn't even understand the concepts or the ideologies of Satanism. Most people do not because they don't read and they don't understand what Satanism, real Satanism, is all about. Now, my understanding of Satanism and Luciferianism is it's about you, it's about the elements, your spirit, and you becoming one with nature, you being able to be the God of your own reality, and you understanding truth, knowledge, and wisdom. But that's above a lot of people's, pay grade, especially the ones who look at it as something evil or wrong because they don't understand it. So he did this clip that I saw with him and Candace Owens. He was talking about him reverting to Islam. And the reason that he reverted to Islam, is because he thinks that Islam can save him from those contracts that he signed and get him out of those contracts. They're not going to be able to help you. They're not going to be able to help you. And another thing too, let's have some emotional honesty and some intellectual honesty. Let me put that to the side about what I just said about the Islam and the contracts. Just hold off on that. The real reason Andrew Tate left Christianity, he left Christianity and reverted to Islam. Because he said that, let's go back to what he said. He said, because in the streets of America, Satanists are walking around. Now, why would he say that? Let's really break down why he said that. You know why he said that? Because what he is doing in code is calling out Christianity. Because Andrew Tate knows that Christianity is not what people think. And he's trying to cover it by trying to blame Satanism because that's probably all he knows. But it ain't got nothing to do with Satanism, what these wicked people do. See, Andrew Tate is also an archon, and he is a son of Yahweh. But just he's under a different mantle of the Yahweh energy. But he's also a son of Yahweh. He saw what Christianity was causing, and he became disappointed, distressed, and he saw that energy could not help him. So he reverts to Islam, thinking that can save him. That's not going to be able to save you either. Because that's why I said earlier, who is this figure named Andrew Tate? Because if I'm not mistaken, wasn't he an atheist at some point? Yes, he was. I heard him say he was an atheist. And then he reverted to Islam, and he said that in an interview that he did with Piers Morgan. He said he was an atheist, then he reverted to Islam. And he gave the reasons why he reverted to Islam and things like that. Because he realized what was really going on with Christianity. So no, stop trying to blame Satanism and just say the truth. That you left Christianity because you realized how evil that religion was. And you saw that everything that you had been taught was a lie. And the real people who are the evils that you speak of are the Christians who are running Hollywood, like the Masons and all of those people. They all have connections to Christianity. Those Masonic temples and all of that, they are connected to Christianity. Tell the truth. But see, he's not going to do that. He's going to try to make up some phantom story about Satanists walking around America, that they're allowing Satanists to march in the street and all of that type of stuff. No. Let me give you a prime example. What's that man's name that just got arrested for unaliving his 2 stepchildren and his ex-wife? And his second wife, I think her name is Lori Vallow. They were a doomsday couple. See, this is the type of stuff that Andrew Tate is not acknowledging. Lori Vallow, I believe that's her name, she unalived her children. Her husband, I think his name is Chad Daybell or Day something, he just got convicted the death penalty, as he should have. because he was an accomplice in that shit with his wife, Lori Vallow. They unalived those children. They were a doomsday, radical, psychotic, evil Christian couple. So the evil that Andrew Tate is talking about is not Satanism, it's Christianity, because it's Christians that really run Hollywood. It's Christians. And I've said this before, but people don't want to acknowledge that. It's right in front of your face. It's right in front of your face. But what they do is they throw in smoke and mirrors and illusions, and people get on YouTube and say, oh, it's witchcraft. Oh, it's Satanism. It's this, it's that. No, it's Christian, the dark side of Christianity. And it's right in front of our faces. It's right in front of our faces. And this is not attacking Christians who practice the more lighter side of it. We're talking about the darker side that they don't know about. And then they want to blame Satanism. No, Satanism sheds light on the darker side of Christianity. That's why they don't like Satanists. That's why they don't like witches. Or wise women, rather. Let me say wise women. That's why. They don't like wise women, whether they're black or white or any race. They don't like wise women. That is why there is a war against women on this planet. That's why. So no, it's not Satanism or Satanists marching in the street. It's your Christians that are marching in the street, that are doing some of the most diabolical, disgusting, heinous, evil things. And I don't give a fuck who don't like what I'm saying. I don't give a fuck. Islam will not be able to save him either. Islam will not be able to save him either. Andrew Tate is a very toxic person. Um, he was open about not liking food. He said he hated food. What human being says they hate food? And somebody said, I saw somebody say, if he hates food, he probably hates you too. And that's true. And, a lot of the men that look up to him, I just want to say this, and this ain't no shade or no disrespect. Does he really want to see you succeed? Or does he want you to get up under his control so you can follow him? Because a lot of these men like Andrew Tate, they're really not the alpha men that you think. The alpha men that you think can give you the pointers and give you the advice and give you the wisdom and the guidance from a man's perspective, the real ones, they've killed all of them off. Because even some of us as gay men could get something from them, and they didn't discriminate. And they didn't play, they didn't do the same, they didn't play in the same sex pawn. They didn't do any of that. You feel what I'm saying? And what's so interesting is that Andrew Tate is so elusive and so secretive about his life. I got questions. He has all of this advice about men and about women, but he doesn't even have a woman. Does he even have children? Now, I don't want to speak out of place. Maybe he does. But he has not been connected to any one particular woman. He wants to have multiple women. And that's his business. But that also shows a lot about him. And does he want to have loving relationships with these women? Or does he just want to use them as slaves? Because let me tell you what I do know. There is nothing loving about Andrew Tate. He does not seem to be a very loving, caring person, not even towards women. Just listening to the things that come out of his mouth. I saw a clip of an interview that he did, and people need to pay attention to this, where he was giving an example of how he runs his household. And he said that if he comes home and his four wives, he said his four wives. So maybe he does, maybe he does have some women. I don't know, but I find it very interesting that a lot of these men that are trying to tell heterosexual men how to get women, none of them have women. So what's really going on with that? And I'm gonna give it the side eye. Y'all know what I'm talking. What's really going on with that shit? But that's another story. Anyway, he did this. I saw this clip, and he was saying that if he came home and his four wives were frantic about some type of new contagion that's, contagious, or some type of new pandemic that was, dangerous and contagious, and they tried to tell him to put on a mask to protect himself, he said that he would pull out his sword and say, "Woman or women, get under control. I am the king of this castle. Go cook." That's what he said. Now, what's interesting is he pulled out a sword. He pulled out a sword when he said that. In that interview, in that little clip that I saw. Now, there may have been more to the story, but that's what I saw. So you mean to tell me that's your way of communicating with your wives? Now, like I told you, I do the cooking in my house. I don't mind my friend coming in from work saying he likes chicken nuggets and French fries. So I always keep that on hand. Listen, as long as I got Kool-Aid made, I got some Snickers, I got him some potato chips, some chicken nuggets, and some fries. My friend is happy. My man is happy. Okay, but he would never talk to me like that. And I'm a man. He would never talk to me like that. He would never speak to me like that. He'll come in and say, "You feel like making some chicken nuggets and some French fries," in his manly voice. And I'll be like, "Sure, I'll make them." Because like I said, I do that type. That's what I do. That's my role. And that's what works for me. But for him to pull out a sword and act the way that he did, that lets you know he does not. He not only does he not enjoy food, he doesn't enjoy food. He doesn't enjoy sex. He doesn't enjoy lovemaking. He doesn't enjoy too much of anything in life. Everything with him, in my opinion, from what I am getting from his subconscious, is predator and prey, him being the predator, allegedly. And see, men like that, men like that, men like that are just like that. But Islam will not be able to save him. He went from atheist, Christian, then to Islam because he's running from something. He's running from those contracts. He's not fulfilling the contracts that those elitists gave him, that he agreed to and that he signed. He's not agreeing to it. That is why they are targeting him. That's why. And it would take somebody like me to get him out of those spiritual contracts, jail. Because see, I could break those contracts. But he would have to pay me $100,000 a month. See, it would take somebody like me, or maybe some of my other spiritual, constituents. See, I could break those contracts because I have dominion over that and divinity to do that. And I'm not the biggest and the baddest, but I'm just saying I'm something. He needs someone of a spiritual nature to break those contracts. They have spiritual contracts on him. That is why he looks so stressed and disheveled and so upset, because they have him binded. But he did it to himself. And now he's coming out trying to expose. That is why he says things like, what happens to people? He brought up, I think he brought up some, or made some references to Martin Luther King, Tupac, Malcolm X. He said, what happens to people who speak out against the status quo, or whatever the case may be? They end up, unalived. Well, if that's the case, why aren't you unalived? You know why? Because he's trying to work things out with them. But he's trying to work things out with them in a way that he thinks he's going to come out on top. But you're not going to come out on top. You're not. He's part of that elite stuff. He's part of it. He's part of it. He's part of all of that. He saw things. Him and his brother saw things, experienced things. Interesting that his father died in 2015. It's interesting. Nobody can really pinpoint where he was raised, born and raised. Born in D.C. over here, born and raised in Chicago over here. Then in some places it says he was born and raised in the UK. So who is Andrew Tate? Who is he really? And why should people be listening to him again? And I'm not faulting the people that listen to him, because people are looking for hope. People are hopeless and they're looking for hope. And I get it. And those people that are hopeless, they're looking for hope in other people because they don't know where to look for hope in themselves. They don't know where to. Like I told you about Doris Duke. She was a Sagittarius too. She was constantly trying to find something outside of her that she should have been looking for within herself. And Andrew Tate is a prime example of that. He's almost 40 years old. He's almost 40 years old. And contrary to what people believe, his stock is not going up. How is he an example of all of these things that he claims to be an example of when he can't show the proof of it? He can't show proof. He has no women that are connected to him. He has no children that we know of. But yet he talks about alpha men, family, and all of these things. But he is not an example of any of that. He's not an example of any of that. His father was black, and I believe his mother is Caucasian. He's not an example of any of these things that he talks about. And see, when I see people like, when I see not people, when I see men like Andrew Tate, it really makes my gaydar goes off. It really makes my gaydar go off. It really makes my gaydar go off, and I'm going to say allegedly, for various reasons. And maybe that's why my spirit has been honing in on him, because maybe I see some things. See, I can see in those dark places that men try to hide, like him. Those, overly masculine, hyper masculine men like him, always trying to tell other men how they should be a man. And at least the men that he's trying to minister to, at least those men, they are more of an example of having a wholesome relationship with a woman and a child. They're more of an example than he is. So why y'all giving all y'all energy to him? I'm just asking a question. I don't hate Andrew Tate. If he wanted to have a conversation with me, I would be open to that. But he would have to pay me to talk to him. He needs some serious spiritual work. And the places that he's going to get it, it's not going to work. That Islam energy is going to turn against you. Because I never spoke about this, but I think that the Nation of Islam had something to do with my friend Christopher Barry allegedly being unalived, even though they said it was an overdose. And it was somebody that brought it to my attention that ever since, because Christopher was dabbling with the Nation of Islam as well. And then after he did that, it was like his life took a downward spiral. His life was already traumatic, but when he got involved with them, it got worse. So what is Andrew Tate over there doing, calling on the jinn? What is he trying to call the jinn to help him? Is that what he's trying to do, call on the jinn? What you got mad because Satan wouldn't help him, I guess. Because Satan was like, no, I'm not with that, what you're trying to do to people. I'm not with that. So then now he's mad, calling everybody Satanist, that they have Satanists walking through America. When the Satanists, the real ones, are not bothering anybody. That's your Christians. You know what it is. Andrew knows what it is. Those are those Christians. Those are those sinister, dark side, doomsday Christians. But they want to try to do smoke and mirrors and mask it and make it look like it's Satanists and wise women. Because the women that he has around him, all of the women that I've seen him associated with, they look plastic and they look fake. I don't see any wholesome women around him. How can anything that is not wholesome tell you what you should do to be wholesome as a man? When he's walking around with women that look like men. Make that make sense. Make that make sense. Because a lot of these men don't live in their truth. That think like him. I'm not talking about, men, but I'm talking about men that think like him. They don't live in their truth. Before Christopher Barry died, I was doing spiritual work for him. And he told me before he died, he said, I don't know what you're doing. I wish I still had the text messages, but I don't have them anymore. When he died, I deleted all of, I think I got one saved message from him. But I'm going to keep, that's my own private message because it was something, very private that he said to me in that message. But before he died, I was doing work for him. That's why Spirit led him to me. Because he felt like there was something being put on him, and it was. I said, oh, really? I said, oh, really? So I checked in with him. I said, is there any check? He said, I don't know what you did. He said, but things are definitely looking on the up and up for me. He said, I don't know what you did, but that whatever you did, I was doing some work for him. See, I don't talk about this a lot because I don't talk about the work that I do spiritually because it ain't nobody's motherfucking business because I'm the real motherfucking deal. And I get things done. It's in my blood. I just didn't know it was there. But I'm ordained by the universe and the great divine, the great Mother Sophia. I was doing work for him. Doors were opening back up for him, slowly but surely. But then Christopher, he veered off into going back to them drugs, unfortunately, because that gave him comfort. But somebody put some bad shit in those drugs, I believe. That's what it was. But I was doing work for him, and things were starting to come around. Things were starting to turn around. He had got a major breakthrough in his career. He was getting ready to have a major career breakthrough. He got a major contract with DC Public Schools. And that's what he and I was talking about. He was like, yeah, what you did, it helped me to get, I said, I know. That's what I do. I'm the occult view. That's what I do. Andrew Tate needs some spiritual work. But I don't know if anybody would, would even, shit, I don't even know if he could pay me to touch that. I don't even know. We would have to have a call. Me and him would have to have a conversation. We would have to have a conversation. He would have to pay me. Like I said, $100,000 cash would be my price for me to do any spiritual work for him because of the toxicity that he has put out into the universe. I'm not saying that he don't tell truths, but it's almost like you're making a cake. The cake looks good. You got your sugar, your powdered sugar, your lemon juice. You got all that on the cake. But then you're lacing the cake with arsenic and rat poisoning. The cake looks good. It tastes good, but it's not going to be good. You feel what I'm saying? He's in trouble. Andrew Tate is in trouble. He's in trouble. And if any other shit go down, I remember I told you first. I told you first. I told you first. Anyway, this is the occult view. That's all I have to say for right now. And that's that.